Good afternoon from the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Mission Control, overlooking the work being conducted with their counterparts at the Russian Mission Control Center, half a world away, at the Russian International Space Station Flight Control Room in the town of Korolyov on the outskirts of Moscow. We are currently 25 minutes away from the undocking command, the command that will open up the hooks holding the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft to the Roscosmos module on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. A minute and a half after the undocking command is issued, those hooks will open. Springs on both sides of the docking interface will push off against one another, and the Soyuz MS-26 will be free of the station and will begin its journey home to carry back to Earth NASA's Donald Pettit and Roscosmos cosmonauts Aleksey Ovchinin and Ivan Vagner to wrap up 220 days in space, a mission of 3,520 orbits and 93.3 million statute miles. When the crew has landed on the steppe of Kazakhstan at 8:20 p.m. Central Time this evening, which will be 6:20 a.m. Kazakhstan time shortly after dawn on Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, at the landing site, Donald Pettit will have logged 220 days in space on this mission, 590 days in space on his 4 flights, landing Kazakhstan time on his 70th birthday. Aleksey Ovchinin will have logged 220 days in space and 595 days in space on his 4 flights. Ivan Vagner will have logged 220 days in space and a total of 416 days in space on his 2 missions to the International Space Station. This crew, which launched and arrived at the station last September 11th, has seen the arrival of 6 visiting vehicles, the departure of 7 other visiting vehicles during their time aboard the station. About 2.5 hours ago, the departing crew members said their final farewells to the 7 crew members remaining aboard the International Space Station. In blue, Aleksey Ovchinin, Donald Pettit, and Ivan Vagner saying goodbye to their Expedition 72 counterparts. The Expedition 72 increment will formally end at physical separation of the 2 vehicles about 24 minutes from now. The undocking scheduled at 4:57 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:57 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Shortly after the final hugs and handshakes were conducted, the 3 crew members floated inside the Soyuz MS-26. The hatch was first closed on the Roscosmos side of the docking interface, followed a few minutes later by the closing of the Soyuz hatch. That occurred at 1:52 p.m. Central Time, 2:52 p.m. Eastern Time. Once the Soyuz hatch was closed, the 3 departing crew members began leak checks on their side of the docking interface, as did the station crew on the Roscosmos side of the docking interface. The departing crew of Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner climbed into their Russian Sokol launch and entry suits, conducted leak checks on those suits, and communications checks with the flight control team at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov. The Soyuz crew placed their vehicle on autonomous power. Also, about 35 minutes ago, the Russian flight controllers sent their birthday wishes to Donald Pettit, who again will turn 70 years old on Sunday, April 20th, at the time of his landing Kazakhstan time. That, of course, will be this evening, U.S. time, but it will be Pettit's 70th birthday as he lands at the landing site about 91 miles to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan. Again, the hooks on the Roscosmos side of the docking interface have been opened, and the command to begin the initiation of the opening of the hooks on the Soyuz side is now just 21 minutes away. You'll be hearing references during the course of the undocking and landing operations from the Russian flight controllers as they use the call sign Burlock to address the Soyuz crew. Each Soyuz commander selects his own call sign that has some symbolic meaning to them, either geographic or otherwise. Ovchinin's call sign is burlak, which is the Russian term for a riverboat or a barge puller that existed in the 17th century Russian Empire. And again, this is a replay of activities that took place about 2.5 hours or so ago, as Ovchinin, Vagner, and Pettit said goodbye to their expedition crewmates and moved inside the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft for final preparations, leading to the undocking of the vehicle that is just 22 minutes away. You see the Ryzhikov wiping down the circumference of the hatchway from Rosviet to the Soyuz, making sure no foreign object debris was present before that hatch was closed, to provide a clean interface for the leak checks that occurred about 2.5 hours ago. Those leak checks resulted in an airtight seal between the two vehicles. The vestibule depressurized down to vacuum, setting the stage for the undocking of Soyuz from Rosviet here, coming up within minutes. And there you saw the replay of the hatch closure that separated the departing trio of Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner from the rest of the station crew. You see the remaining 7 crew members in this Expedition 73 crew portrait. From left to right, Kirill Peskov, Johnny Kim, Nicole Ayers, Sergei Ryzhikov, Anne McLean, Aleksey Zubritsky, and the new space station commander, Takoya Onishi, of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, who took over command of the station from Aleksey Ovchinin yesterday in a change of command ceremony. The actual demarcation point for the end of Expedition 72 and the start of Expedition 73 will come at the time of physical separation between the two vehicles just 18 minutes from now. At the time of undocking, the Soyuz will push away from the Rosviet module of the International Space Station, conduct a couple of separation burns, move to a distance of about 41 kilometers away from the station for the deorbit burn, which will be 4 minutes, 41 seconds in duration. This is a braking maneuver to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second, allowing it to drop out of orbit for its entry into the Earth's atmosphere. 23 minutes after the deorbit burn, pyrotechnics will separate the 3 sections of the Soyuz. The crew is in that center section, the descent module, as they enter the Earth's atmosphere, with temperatures around the vehicle building to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. The crew will be feeling the first effects of Earth's gravity at that point. As they approach the landing site, the parachute deployment sequence comes in 2 phases, drogue chutes coming out first, followed by the main chutes, a trio of orange and white chutes that will enable the Soyuz to slow down and enable the Soyuz to descend to a landing with soft landing engines firing just a moment before touchdown on the steppe of Kazakhstan, with landing scheduled at 8:20 and 44 seconds p.m. Central Time, 9:20 and 44 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. The landing is occurring about 56 minutes after sunrise at the landing site in Kazakhstan, which will be about 91 statute miles to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan. Once the crew is extracted from the Soyuz, they'll be placed in chairs nearby to have a couple of moments to regain their land legs before they're carried in those chairs to a nearby inflatable medical tent. They'll receive initial medical exams. They'll get out of those Russian Sokol launch and entry suits. They'll get into more comfortable flight clothing, and then they'll board 3 helicopters that will carry them back to the staging city of Karaganda, Kazakhstan. Don Pettit will board a NASA plane to return to Houston, while Ovchinin and Vagner will board the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft for a flight back to their training base in Star City, Russia, outside of Moscow. The Russian Mi-8 helicopters that are part of the Rosaviatsa search and recovery forces will be circling the area of the landing site at sunrise in a circular racetrack pattern, basically, awaiting the arrival of the Soyuz under its main chute. The helicopters will descend in sequential fashion, one after the other. The first helicopter is populated by the most critical recovery team personnel who will be attending to the vehicle, making sure it's safe, no toxic gases emanating from the spacecraft before they begin the process of extracting the crew. The Soyuz might land upright, it might be dragged onto its side depending on the winds at the landing site. The weather at the landing site in Kazakhstan is forecast to be partly cloudy, with temperatures around 48 degrees Fahrenheit. We are inside 13 minutes until the command to begin the opening of the hooks holding Soyuz to the Rassvet module will initiate. It'll take about a minute and a half for those hooks to open and for the Soyuz to push away from the Rassvet module to begin the trip home for Don Pettit, Aleksey Ovchinin, and Ivan Vagner. At the time of landing and the completion of their mission today, these 3 crew members will have amassed 1,601 days of spaceflight experience on their collective flights, 4 for Pettit, 4 for Ovchinin, and 2 for Ivan Vagner. Once again, part of the NASA delegation that is embedded with the search and recovery operation team, they are airborne in an Antonov 26 aircraft, having departed Karaganda for an interim staging point in Zhezkazgan, where they will board their helicopters to fly to the landing site. Other NASA personnel, along with Rosaviatsa search and recovery force teams, will be departing Karaganda and going directly to the landing site a couple of hours from now.
Bullaki, can you confirm that closed M and transmitter commands have been sent? Yes, 004500, this is the time when the commands were sent to activate closed and display plus TV mode. And also we're constantly getting the temperature alarm. The SI temperature exceeds limits, so every 10 to 15 seconds we are getting this alarm. Would it be possible to somehow suppress it? Copy. Standby 1, please.
10 minutes away from the issuance of the undocking command, the International Space Station, flying 260 miles from southwest to northeast over the west coast of India. All quiet as we prepare for the issuance of the undocking command just 9 minutes from now. All of the preparations have gone very smoothly. On board the International Space Station earlier today, NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers were in the Quest airlock doing checks on their extravehicular mobility units, or U.S. spacesuits, in advance of a scheduled spacewalk that they will conduct on May 1st.
Copy.
It is a busy trio of days on board the station, beginning with this activity today. In the early morning hours, Monday morning, April 21, the next SpaceX cargo vehicle, the CRS-32 cargo ship, will be launched from Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center on a Falcon 9 rocket to deliver almost 7,000 pounds of supplies to the Expedition 73 crew on board the International Space Station. Our coverage on Monday morning on NASA Plus will begin at 3:55 a.m. Central Time, 4:55 a.m. Eastern Time, for a launch at 4:15 a.m. Eastern Time.
And stand by for...
The coverage will begin Monday again at 2:55 a.m. Central, 3:55 a.m. Eastern. The launch 20 minutes later, that will result in a docking to the space station's Harmony module. On the following day, on Tuesday, April 22nd, of that SpaceX cargo vehicle, the Cargo Dragon, with docking scheduled at 7:20 a.m. Central Time, 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, April 22nd.
Parameters, the combined property unit parameters are nominal. Copy. Combined propulsion unit parameters are all nominal.
Так, есть цепка, есть индикаторный режим.
And as we prepare for undocking, this is a view of the display panel inside the Soyuz MS-26.
Copy.
The same view that the crew is seeing, showing the engineering crosshaired overlaid camera on the left, other vehicle status parameters in the other boxes that you see on this display panel. Now 6.5 minutes away from the issuance of the undocking command.
Yes, you're going to send the S18 command. S17, correction. S17 command is being issued. The headlight is on. What about the
as the International Space Station flies almost directly over New Delhi,
yes,
moving from southwest and northeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, We are approaching an orbital sunrise.
Command sent and AGC command sent once. So you can repeat it one more time. Send the AGC command one more time to make the image brighter. Copy. You can send the command many times as required. Just send it one more time. The AGC command. Right now the image is good. The 2 is not illuminated. S16 is not illuminated. Copy.
Once the undocking occurs, the physical separation scheduled at 4:57 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time.
Send
about 3 minutes later, there will be the first of 2 separation burns, an 8-second burn of the Soyuz engines, followed a minute and 20 seconds later by a 15-second separation 2 burn that will accelerate the Soyuz away from the International Space Station's Rosviet module. And now in view, a good look at the Soyuz MS-26. At the very top of the screen, that's the instrumentation and propulsion module, the white section that also accommodates the solar arrays. At the very bottom, the bulbous section is the orbital module. And in the middle, that's where the crew is strapped in, the descent module with Soyuz commander Aleksey Ovchinin in the center seat, flanked to his left by Ivan Vagner, and to his right by Donald Pettit.
Are you getting the image? Please repeat your last. The AGC. No need for now. Let's wait for sunrise. We might need it at that point.
This view shows a pair of Soyuz vehicles. In the foreground is MS-26, where Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner are located. At the top of your screen, docked to the Prashal module, is the newly arrived Soyuz MS-27 that brought Johnny Kim, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Aleksey Zubritsky to the station on April 8th. Three minutes until the undocking command is issued.
2 minutes remaining.
It'll take 90 seconds for the Soyuz hooks to open and physical separation to occur from the time of the command. All station systems are go for undocking. The Russian flight control team is receiving data from the Soyuz vehicle as we approach the 2-minute mark until the undocking command is issued.
1 minute until the 7 command time. What about the command status now, Dmitry? Yes, we're going to give you further recommendations. Copy.
And we're in a brief handover between satellites on the tracking and data relay satellite system. We'll get our downlink video back just a moment or two from now.
15 seconds to the 7 command. 005500, the 7 command was sent. SSVP power confirmed. Hooks closed. Latches retracted. Inaudible not illuminated. D11, D15, D17, S13, all of those are illuminated. The S8 is illuminated.
This view from an external camera on the Soyuz vehicle, as we are 30 seconds away from the issuance of the undocking command.
Yes, we confirm that you are going to send the command at the specified time. Copy. 15 seconds remaining to the 17 command. Zero, inaudible, the 17 command sent, the 15 is not illuminated.
And the command has been issued. The Soyuz hooks are now driving open.
Illuminated. The repress indication is illuminated. Copy.
All systems on both Soyuz and the International Space Station are go, as the process has begun for physical separation that will be occurring a moment or two from now.
The temperature is 15 degrees, then it's jumping back and forth. Copy.
Есть погасание механца 1, 005708.
Inaudible. Copy.
Hooks continuing to drive, standing by for physical separation.
It is automatic. It should be automatic now.
And we have undocking.
37, undocking.
Undocking confirmed at 4:57 p.m. Central Time.
Separation is visually confirmed.
5:57 p.m. Eastern Time as Soyuz and the station flew 260 miles over southern Mongolia.
Illuminated. Please monitor and make sure that there are no foreign objects in the docking mechanism area. Yes, I continue visual monitoring, no foreign objects in the docking port area. Copy.
One Soyuz departs, another remains. Expedition 73 officially underway. We're about a minute away from the first separation burn that will begin to accelerate the rate of the opening rate for the Soyuz from the station. An 8-second burn coming up. Once again, physical separation occurring at 4:57 p.m. Central Time, 5:57 p.m. Eastern Time. Pettit, Ovchinin, and Vagner are on the first leg of their trip back to Earth.
Still the first burn.
Once the two separation burns are concluded, the International Space Station will be maneuvered back to its regular orientation from the undocking orientation as the Expedition 73 crew, now christened,
10 seconds till
begins to move into a
activation.
pre-sleep period.
Есть включение двигателя.
Thruster activation confirmed.
Soyuz thrusters now
Отработали 8
activated,
секунд.
and the first burn is underway.
Наблюдаю разворот по крену.
We see the maneuver, roll maneuver.
Roll maneuver in progress. And the first of the two separation burns was completed and is all good. The Soyuz now in its departure orientation for a second separation burn that's coming up in about 40 seconds or so.
—
30 seconds till the second separation burn. Copy.
Здесь обобщенная ГСО.
We have combined GSO.
10 секунд.
10 seconds.
Принято 10 секунд.
Есть включение двигателя.
We confirm thruster activation.
5 секунд.
5 seconds.
Принято.
And the second separation burn of 15 seconds in duration underway.
Принято.
Есть выключение двигателя. Двигатели
We
отработали
confirm
15 секунд.
thruster deactivation. The thrusters were on for 15 seconds.
В18.
And the second separation burn complete and good.
The 18 command.
So Soyuz begins its departure away from the station.
The 18
Команда
command
выдана.
has been sent.
Команда выдана. Где причал? Не горит.
Переходим на 50-ю страницу.
We're going to page 50.
Есть инструкция, конец
We
временного цикла.
we see that the time cycle has expired.
Надув погас.
Repress is no longer illuminated.
Ну, и один, возможно, уже выдан.
А, я-
Проконтролируйте.
E1 has already been sent.
ДРНК.
Dynamic mode disabled. And now we are selecting the PLK1 A11 command.
Выдала 11.
A11 command sent.
А 13 не горит.
Copy. A13 is no longer illuminated.
Далее выдаем D8.
All right, now sending the 8 SSVP off command.
Выдал D8.
The 8 command
D11
is
не горит.
sent.
D17 не
SSVP
горит.
internal transfer system mode is deactivated. G17 is no,
Не горит.
and S11 and D17 are no longer illuminated.
Включил фару.
We are deactivating the headlights.
Готов
S18.
формата РОДК.
Those instructions through the interpreter being relayed to Aleksey Ovchinin, the Soyuz commander, in the center seat of the Soyuz descent module, flanked to his left by Ivan Vagner and Don Pettit on his right.
Да, принял.
Post
Copy.
undocking procedures to place the Soyuz in position for its departure from the station to an ultimate distance of about 41 kilometers for the deorbit burn that is scheduled 2 hours and 22 minutes from now.
0103. We have the LED illuminated. Rotational hand controller final approach is no longer illuminated, and translational hand controller is currently in the transport position.
Время 01:05:00.
This is the cockpit display panel in the descent module. showing a variety of parameters, chamber pressures, and so forth that the Soyuz crew is watching as Soyuz MS-26 drifts away from the International Space Station after 220 days attached to the Rosviet module.
Принято топливо 482.
482. On your go. I need your permission to deactivate the video system. Translational hand controller has been stowed, and I'm ready to activate the video system. Burlaki, currently keep the video system on. All right, we'll stand by for your go. You will need to send the command to set RRG to 8 degrees. Sending L13, Lima 13 command, and set it to 8. 0630, the command has been sent. The LED is illuminated. Now, let's continue working for page 53.
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft with NASA's Donald Pettit and Roscosmos cosmonauts Aleksey, Ovchinin, and Ivan Vagner on board undocked from the International Outpost at 4:57 and 37 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:57 and 37 seconds p.m. Eastern Time, as the vehicle and the International Space Station passed 260 miles over southern Mongolia. All of the hatch closure and pre-undocking preparations went by the book, no issues whatsoever, and the Soyuz is now moving smartly away from the station to an ultimate distance of about 41 kilometers from the complex for the deorbit burn that is scheduled 2 hours and 19 minutes from now. The deorbit burn scheduled at 7:27 and 8 seconds p.m. Central Time. That will be a 4-minute, 41-second retrograde braking maneuver to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second, allowing it to drop out of orbit for its descent back to Earth. In Kazakhstan, members of the search and recovery teams are en route to an interim staging site in Zhezkazgan, which is 91 miles to the northwest of the landing site itself. Other NASA personnel will be heading directly from the primary staging area of Karaganda to the landing site to join their counterparts, as a half-dozen Russian Mi-8 helicopters will be standing by to land in sequential fashion to begin the extraction of the crew from the descent module and to get them into a nearby inflatable medical tent for initial medical testing before they board the helicopters to return to Karaganda, with Pettit boarding a NASA jet to fly back to Houston, and Ovchinin and Vagner boarding a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft for a flight back to their training base and their home in Star City, Russia, outside of Moscow.
Step 2 per page 54. Copy.
Время включения акселерометра 02:25:30.
So with the Soyuz safely on its way away from the space station for the final leg of its journey home, we'll offer this programming note. We will be back with our deorbit entry and landing coverage of Soyuz MS-26 beginning at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That coverage to continue through the time the crew has landed, extracted from the Soyuz, and brought into the nearby medical tent.
So
So we will be back with you in less than 2 hours for all of that activity. We hope you'll join us then. In the meantime, Soyuz MS-26 safely on its way to the point of its deorbit burn to bring home Don Pettit, Aleksey Ovchinin, and Ivan Vagner. This is Mission Control Houston.
Control system. Well, it does make a noise.